Sure. I know what is happening. My friend, you can't send people to a foreign country to go and learn military skills to come and disrupt elections in this country and they expect not to be arrested for that. You will be arrested. You commit crimes, you're on your own. Why would you send people to go and train somewhere to come and plan to kill? An opposition leader says he's prepared to kill, to be killed. Nobody wants to kill him. Now he's prepared to kill. Since there's nobody who wants to kill him, so he's willing to kill. Who is he going to kill? Fellow citizens. For what? It's competition to serve. My colleagues were in government 10 years. They did not introduce free education. Now they're saying they'll bring it. Why didn't they bring it when they were in government 10 years? They are promising, no, CDF. Why didn't they bring CDF from 1.6 million, which is only enough to build a 1-by-3 classroom block, to 40 million? Why didn't they do it? Why? Grevasio. If you as a citizen are supporting them, I'm just pointing you here because we're having an interview. You must reflect. What benefit did you get 10 years? A few people were sleeping with cash as mattresses and pillows. A few people. Where was that money coming from? From the loans, the Euro bonds, which they failed to pay. And the price was $2.3 billion of debt service. And that's the money they were accessing through fake contracts, supplying air, roads that they never did. They got 50% down payment and never did the roads. And that's the money they were using as mattresses. Is that how you run a country? No.
To Mr. Brian Mundubile, all Mr. Makebi Zulu. The Zambia Police Service, in collaboration with other law enforcement agencies, is aware of the location of the duo who have sought refuge under international law with a non-international organization. The government has already communicated with the said organization and made assurances that the suspects are entitled to the due process of the law and their fundamental human rights, and that there is no harm intended to be done on them in any way. In the same regard, the police is likely to invite the other members of the public who may be regarded to have information that may be of high value to the ongoing investigations. And the public is hereby advised to cooperate and help with investigations whenever they are lawfully summoned. In the event that a person of interest under the said in ongoing investigations fails to avail themselves to the police or responds with threats, violence, or blatant attack on law enforcement officers, the applicable laws and proportionate measures will be taken in order to ensure that there is compliance with lawful requests or call-outs that are intended to help the police carry out its investigative mandate. At this occasion, it is imperative to inform the public that the police is also actively investigating crimes of terrorism and terrorist financing, which are a threat to national security, and members of the public are therefore encouraged to expeditiously notify the police of any suspicious activities or conduct that may encounter. In the same vein, members of the public are hereby cautioned not to harbor, collaborate, or assist persons who are known to be persons of interest or wanted by the police. Such persons will be treated as accessories after the fact and as such subject to applicable criminal sanctions. In a similar vein, any person or organization involved in the financing of activities of persons of interest and their collaborators will be deemed as accessories and therefore subject to criminal sanctions.
PS, good morning, and dear Zambians, good morning.
Good morning, Ambassador, and good morning, Zambia.
Yes, indeed. This morning we concentrate on the subject that has occurred, which we broke last night, that the state has put up trumped-up charges against Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu, treason and insurrection charges against them. These are non-bailable. These will put away the boys for a long time. And the decision is clear. They've been built up when they started alleging militia from, early in the week. And the president has followed it up, as I show you on the video. And the Inspector General has also issued a formal call out to them. We know these are trumped up. We have demonstrated that the only crime Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu did was to participate in this election and probably win the elections. And now you have the action of the Zambia army that has imposed the president on us, because we saw the elite unit of the Zambia army, the commando, as they are called in Zambia, the special units, storm tottling centers, ECZ tottling centers, where changes were made and results were altered. And ECZ proceeded to announce that the president had won elections. Mission observers, both local and international, have exposed high irregularities in the manner the poll was done, in the manner results were changed, the 6-hour shutdown in which everyone was chased out of the polling stations because they alleged that poll staff were under attack. But they were under attack from UPND cadres, from Kalufianya and others. They were not under attack from anyone else. They were under attack from soldiers. So to create that window for 6 hours, that matter consistently, all mission observers have exposed it. In fact, the EU have stated that that particular period has seen the spike in the irregularities of the results that were announced, and they've demanded that ECZ publishes immediately the disaggregated results, because then it will expose where the additions and other additions were done. So clearly, this election has been marred by these serious irregularities. And what has been the response of Makebi Zulu and Brian Mundubile? They've chosen to petition this election. That's what you do. You do the civil way. But what have we seen the response from the state? It's been now to crack down on both lawyers and people that should ensure that this petition is filed in court. The boys are racing against the time. They're hiding somewhere and the days are ticking. And those that should organize this petition, like the Secretary General, Celestine Mukandila, all of a sudden the immigration have remembered that he is not Zambian, a national who's been in Zambia, who's Zambian. And all of a sudden they are interested in him. And they are so callous that they even detained former Constitutional Court Judge Annie Mwewastali. What is her crime? Apparently, it's like someone consulted her how they should structure this petition that has become a crime, that she's about to commit a felony. When did pursuing a legal case become a felony? This is the extent of the crackdown. We have noticed many people have been rounded up. Some have pleaded that I don't mention them because, as soon as we mention them, the cases become political. But there's been a crackdown. Again, this is an immediate operation to ensure that Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu do not file their petition. So, if the president won the elections, he's being congratulated by everyone, including the United States. Why is he afraid of a legal challenge? Why is he afraid of a petition? Those will be the questions we'll be asking here. So, good morning, PS. Take over from here.
Wow. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And I have been keenly following what is going on. And remember, yesterday, it seems like we kind of shook the beehive, and people just jumped onto action. You see, there has been a rise in trumped up charges on almost everybody. Once they see the connection that scares or threatens the due process, they have to jump on you. And the use of the word militia, militias, we have militias in Zambia. I think everybody knows that there is no militias in Zambia. They can't be, there is no capacity. Who would? Why is it that we have no evidence of what the militias are doing? Like, who? Name them that this is a member of militia and things like that. There is just a heavy-handedness that has gone on political opponents. You know, it's all to run away from accountability. Accountability is what is being avoided. People that have beaten people, they are not being held accountable. How do you talk about militias when election observers are beaten in full view? No comment, no reference to say that guy is behind bars today. That man who was beating people in the totaling center, he took the law in his own hands, committed crimes in full view of the police. That one is an angel. Nothing said. We have not heard him being called to account for those crimes that he committed. They know that the petition is going to be really strong. So what you see is a crackdown on anybody, anyone they can lay their hands on, they will pick. You see, at first, people were complaining about abductions that were coming from the police, arbitrary arrests. Remember how they arrested Ambassador Lungu. So when the outcry for these abductions, when they changed the formula, they coined a term that immediately sends.
I noticed what has happened. I think Chanda and yourself are using the same number. Okay, so let me close one number and open a new number for Vachanda. So you've logged and displaced him. Good morning, Augustine.
Good morning, Ambassador, and good morning, viewers. Sincere apologies that I displaced PS Vachanda.
Yo, tulena kabatile sala tupela maka, so sometimes probably I sent the same number to both of you.
I see.
But I don't know if you've been following. He was just giving his opening remarks regarding the happenings. We are concentrating on the charges that have been preferred against Brian Mundubile and Makebi. We understand they are raising, treason and insurrection charges. And like they did to Vowden Findlay yesterday, that is financing, terrorism. Come on. So then who is a terrorist? Brian Mundubile and Makebi. So there are these serious matters. I don't know if you have initial thoughts about this matter before. Let me go and fetch your brother, who you have displaced.
So you see, Ambassador, I think my initial and immediate thought about these frivolous charges against Honorable Brian Mundubile and Makebi is to give an analogy of Mr. Kainde Hichilema himself when he was in Mongo, and his convoy threatened the life of a sitting president. There is more, what can I say? There is more substance in charging him with treason in that matter than there is in this specific issue, because um, you know, sometimes I'm struggling to even understand that a sitting president can tolerate such uh, a useless argument and discharge resources, taxpayers' money, um, on it to punish his opposition, leaders, so that he can turn around the picture and image around them, because there isn't anything. There's no substance whatsoever in this so-called militia and insurrection allegation. The people that they're trying to frame are people well known in this society. These are people that have been walking around the streets of Lusaka, the streets of the Copperbelt, the streets of Kabwe. I mean, how do you, as an intelligence system, as a president, even start talking about somebody being a member of a militia when that person lives right in the army barracks? It's very shocking, actually, and very, very unfortunate, because I do not even know that we have an intelligence system in Zambia. Because if we did have an intelligence system in Zambia, we would have known who are these people we are accusing. You can't just wake up and make up charges and take them to court. This matter, I think DPP, our good brother Gilbert Perry, should not embarrass himself and commit it to trial, because it would be an embarrassment. Total embarrassment. It would be a national embarrassment. First of all, we would have wasted money on keeping them, in behind cells, because you want to keep them for nothing really, just as a form of punishment. I'm perturbed that a man who himself was a subject of several court summonings, or is it police summonings, and spent 4 months in prison on a charge of treason, which he elicited by being mischievous on the road. Because you see, even if you're an opposition leader, you can't compete with a sitting president on the road. You certainly can't. His behavior in the opposition was mischievous. But now he goes on, to want to charge his opposition, members of the opposition, leaders of the opposition, who themselves won an election that he stole using the military. He stole an election from them. He turns around after stealing an election from them and say, "Hey, you have treason." And then raises those charges. He begins to try them in the court of public opinion. There's a video, I think you must have it on your Facebook page that you played. I'm not too sure if you played it before we started, but that video clearly shows that the president is convinced Honorable Brian Mundubile was running whatever militia or insurrection, whatever he wanted to call it. And I think, every time you see him talk about these things, it's very, very embarrassing. It's exposing him, because there's no way, knowing what we know about everything around President Brian Mundubile, his security team, we can convincingly state that, these charges are politically motivated. You remember that Shapa Wakunguma, his current ADC, was removed from the police service. When Shapa was removed, by the way, Ambassador, I've known Shapa for a long time. I have known Shapa from the time he was a judoka in the Zambia Judo Association, and he also aspired, I think, for leadership at some point. He must have become ZJA president. So I can confidently say I have followed his track record in the police. I think he was even director of sports at Zambia Police. So when he was fired after an incident in Sesheke, I'm sure he was fired or he was removed, transferred. Something happened about his, interaction with PF cadres. I think Francis Mchema was one of those PF cadres. I think had an interaction with him. Now, after that moment, Sharpa was removed from the police service. Where did Sharpa go? Sharpa became a security person for opposition leader then, Hakainde Hichilema. So if Sharpa, as an immediate fired police officer, became an ADC, and there was no problem that he became an ADC, no one, because Sharpa can handle, any type of ammunition. He can handle any type of ammunition. He's a judoka, he's a tough guy, and you see, he was around the president. Okay, so, and he had just left the police service. It was not long that Sharpa had left the police service. So if Sharpa Akunguma left the police service, say 2 months, and the third month he was seen around Hakainde Hichilema, should Mr. Hichilema have been charged with treason because he was being seen with a senior police officer around him who had just left? Where was Fanos Yandenge, for instance? Fanos Yandenge was a member of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema's security detail, who then charged Mr. Hichilema with treason because of Fanos Yandenge being found in his entourage. All those are security servicemen. So now your friend does the same because of the existential threat that was there as a result of vicious UPND cadres. Honorable Brian Mundubile obviously needed, a strong team of security personnel around him to thwart any form of violence that would have been targeted at him. We all know that UPND cadres in the opposition were very vicious. In as much as for the longest time we've accused the Patriotic Front of being violent, I think many people do not know that UPND cadres can be violent. And their violence during election led to the death of Jack Kungo in Solwezi, Northwestern Province. Going into this election, we saw that it was going to be a highly emotive period. We saw the intra-party violence within the PF itself, rather within the UPND. We saw how people were fighting. We saw how they traded blows. We saw how they traded stones. One, very significant incident was that of Honorable Garin Kombo, who at a polling station in the presence of the police was attacked by, among others, an operative, a security personnel from State House. So if an opposition leader knew that he was going into a terrain that would be violent, he was going into places where he would be attacked, he would have needed a security team, professionals, because you can't just get your cadres because they go to the gym and they're capable of handling certain threats. The chances is that when you get those cadres, they may not have the same emotional intelligence to deal with fellow cadres who would have attacked, and they would not even know how to de-escalate. They would not even know how to find a safe space for you. That's why you go for a former police officer, you go for a former security personnel, either in the army, ZNS or ZAF. Those people are allowed to do business with anyone. They are not tied. They've not signed a contract post their service that they will never offer security services to anyone. And because they've offered the security service, you cannot call them militias. They live with you in your barracks. Why? Where were you when they were preparing to be militias? So it means that the Zambia army was keeping a militia in the barracks. Then the army commander must resign because the army commander did not establish that he had the militia in the barracks. How can he do that? One most unfortunate part, Ambassador, that has been established is that these several people that were picked from that residence of Honorable Brian Mundubile were severely tortured. Zambia is a signatory, to the United Nations Human Rights Against Torture. You do not torture any suspect. That is why the United Nations has condemned the arbitrary arrests. Because when you arrest people arbitrarily, you are subject to, punish them. You're subject to injure them. And these people, you're getting information from them after torturing them. Do you think that kind of information will stand in court? How is that information going to stand in court when you are getting information from them, having tortured them, having subjected them to cruel treatment? You deny them access to their lawyers. You also deny them access to their families. They are only known of their location 48 hours after you pick them. Then now, that same 48 hours is the time you're supposed to take them to court. For more than 72 hours to 65 days, you haven't presented them before court. You haven't charged them. You haven't given them a warn and caution. What kind of rule of law is this that we are promoting? There is no rule of law. Then you didn't even know what you were doing, because if you knew that these people you had done investigation, your intelligence system had given you sufficient, latitude to operate and, on, you would have known that you are picking militias. The moment you pick them, you immediately take them to court. But because you don't have information, you are fishing, because you want to punish your opponent so that you can have a one-party state in this day and era. Okay. Now, this is when you're trying to get information to see if you can come up with a charge of treason. I mean, it doesn't work like that, and it shouldn't. So this is what is extremely laughable. It's a joke that, we are even discussing this matter after the election. We should be discussing the substance of the petition, Ambassador and PS. We should be discussing why should the opposition petition this? What evidence do they have? Okay. And are they going to succeed? We analyze the judges. Okay. What kind of judges are on the Concord? Are these judges objective? What will it mean for Zambia if these judges, owing to the glaring irregularities that we've established, okay, side with, for instance, the president and dismiss this petition? What will it mean for our constitutional court? What will it mean for our executive? What will it mean for our government and the judiciary? Those are some of the things we should be discussing, not a charge that doesn't even, it will not go anywhere. It's not going anywhere, this charge. It's not. It's just, it's total useless, and it's a waste of time, waste of resources. Those police officers that are spending time on this matter should go in Chiwolia, should go in Kwasinya, should be going in all the townships to deal with another time bomb, drug abuse, the junkies. Those are the things that these police officers should be doing, not wasting time on a matter that doesn't even exist. You want to make it a big issue. There's nothing here. I've just seen a headline. I don't know if you've shown us the papers, the news diggers. I try to refrain from talking about colleagues in the media, particularly Joseph. Joseph was my junior at the Post. And I think, having received the training that we received at the Post, Joseph can do better. I'm sorry to say, the news diggers has been a disappointment. For a journalist, to publish such a headline, Joseph has done very good investigative stories. He knows how to investigate stories. He knows how to establish the veracity of a story. He cannot be parroting such nonsense in his newspaper. He cannot be leading with the militia, a militia that doesn't exist. Do you know what a militia is, gentlemen? If we are the militia in Zambia, I do not think, I'm sorry to say, Ambassador, a militia would sort us out badly, because we are not a society that has fought war. We have never been tested in war. The only thing our soldiers
I
have done
know,
is to go for
I,
peacekeeping
I
missions.
know there are many people that appreciate Dr. Sishua, and they've always told him to, to summarize his articles. But in the expose he did, where he's alleging that President Hakainde Hichilema has started the path for a life president, he has placed news diggers in the immediate term that will be used to scandalize the opposition, to destroy the Catholic Church, and to then peddle the agenda of. It's rare that Dr. Sishua would name, a private media or any other media, but he has placed him at the center of this. So that's why you'll not be surprised with Joseph screaming militia probe. He's already giving credence that the militia allegation is credible. So now the probe has started, and you are right to call him out. But Dr. Sishua told us that Kalemba and news diggers will be used extensively to whip up this narrative that the state wishes to establish. Let's just go through the facts. There was no exchange of fire. If there were militias, they would be the first ones that they would have been killed, because the way Zambia Army responded, the commandos responded, they went with a military vehicle, the BDRIMs, that drove and brought down the gate. So if they are militias, they are the first one, the commandos. There were about 100, but the ones that stormed the yard were about 40. They would have killed those militias immediately. But why is a person who's dead, the one that was in the living room with George Chisanga, with Bishop Trevor Mwamba, Patrick Mwansa, then the family of Honorable Brian Mundubile, his spouse, and the children, and the visiting child? That's where the death, and Honorable Mtotokafua, that's where the death occurs, because then the ADC, who's been his security, is the one that now drives them upstairs after seeing this chaos. So they all run upstairs. And the army, the commandos do not kill the 3 former commandos that are outside. None of them is dead. If they were militias, they would have been dead. Yes. Then they follow upstairs, instead shoot Mtotweka fire, and begin to beat, step, and torture everyone else. Everyone else, then they begin to drag them down with Mtotweka fire bleeding profusely, and they take them away. There's an accession, and the police, the secretary to cabinet, they've all stayed away from the state of Richard Banda, the ADC. And Richard Banda, I think, is purely a civilian, former policeman, and he used to work for, I think, Ratsa. He's not even among the 3 commandos that they have, the former commandos that were part of it. So Richard Banda, who we fear died also that day, together with Honorable Mtotweka fire, is not mentioned explicitly. They've kept away from. There are many allegations like that the bodies that they deposited at Minor Soko were more than the ones that we've seen, because we know there were 3 operations, that Brian Mundubile's commercial office, the other office in Long Acres, and now the home in Kablonga, where they stormed the area. But what I wanted to emphasize is they've introduced the term exchange of fire, and you have seen Kalemba and news diggers begin to implement quickly as if it is the truth. I've been speaking to lawyers and all people related to this case, and people are fearing for the life, for example, of Patrick Mwansa, fearing for some of those people that are detained. What I can tell you is that they were severely tortured, they were severely beaten. In fact, even the Amnesty, not Amnesty International report, I'm told family members have also expressed concern around the remains of the late Honorable Mtotweka, but I will not discuss it. My point is they were severely tortured and beaten. Someone went to see their friend at, I think at Lusaka Central, and they found that the victims from that raid were all swollen, either limping or not well. But what is clear is there was no exchange of fire. That we must emphasize. Brian Mundubile has been very consistent. There was no one fired back. There was even no one with a weapon when they were there. You know, he says, if they found any weapons in my house, it would be an air gun. That's what he said. So there was no exchange of fire. They want to justify the killing of a former cabinet minister. They want to justify. So they've introduced the element of exchange of fire. Who would fight back? A BDRIM vehicle, military vehicle, brings down you and is facing you. Hey, would you fire back?
You can't.
Gentlemen, what they want us to escape, the facts they want escape is number one, why a military raid at a civilian home, okay, where the family is? Why a military raid on a presidential candidate that has probably won the elections, looking at the results and looking at the day they attacked him? Because that's the day he came to the public and stated that after being made aware of various parallel vote tabulation, our team, we are ahead. We have won these elections. We've done very well with parliamentary seats, and we've done very well, you know, we've won this election. He didn't declare himself, he just announced what the PVT had stated. Of course, there's a lot of debate around that statement, whether Honorable Brian Mundubile should have made that statement or not. But that is what is bringing the response 3 hours later, this heavy-handed response. So they came, Ziele, Zambia Army commander, then chose to kill the presidential candidate who had won elections. That's what it means. Because Brian didn't declare himself. He is not the one that established the findings. All he said is from our PVT, and it has been corroborated by other PVTs, we have won this election. That's all he said. So, but Ziele sends the special unit, you know, and they come and do that. And one witness statement has asked me that if you can find the video, and if anyone has this video, when they were coming in, apparently when they were coming in with the BDRM vehicle and I think the various Land Cruisers and others, there is a white Range Rover that we should take interest in. It didn't have a number plate. That is the one that was carrying a cache of AK-47. They wanted to plant, because I think they came from the narration and investigations that we've been doing. It's like they came to kill. And if they had killed Brian Mundubile, then there would be this cache of arms that would have been left. Then they would have justified in the militia story. I'm aware that we are discussing an active investigations, but the trouble with doing such a matter in an event that happened in around 1930. Kodu Road is a very busy road. Even when they closed out, you have seen videos flying of people taking the videos. The one with an ambulance has emerged, and there are people discussing that this is the second one. There was another one. That's the trouble with doing an operation within an urban center like that. High residence, upmarket residence of Kablonga. So, what am I saying? There was no exchange of fire, and Brian Mundubile has been very emphatic. There was no militia at his house. Even the police themselves are saying there were 11 people that were there and they were picked. So can you imagine? Let's take Brian, his wife, the twins, and the visiting cousin. That's 5 already. That's 5 people. Then let's take the people that were George Chisanga, Bishop Trevor Mwamba, Patrick Mwansa, Honorable Mtotokafa now, who has been shot, and is bleeding to death. You already have 9, Then there was ADC Richard Banda, who we understand now has also been shot dead at the scene. Then the 3 gentlemen who are former, ex-servicemen. You can see the number is already very small, because if they picked the 11 from there, is that a militia? Is that a militia already? It is not. That is why even the Secretary to Cabinet struggled in his statement. He said, arrested on the scene are George Sanga, Trevor Mwamba. He wants to put them like they're part of a militia, you know. And he mentions, then the three gentlemen. Augustine, just tell us briefly, who are these ex-servicemen? You, an investigative journalist, and you have paid attention to this matter. Just speak to it briefly. Who are these three ex-servicemen? Because I published briefly that when I was scanning their names, I find that they've been doing civilian duties, including at the FAS elections. I have seen them with the president's lawyer, Keith Mwemba. So who are these three? Just quickly tell us what you know.
Yeah, so Ambassador, from the information that we've gathered, I think there's also the driver for Honorable Brian Mundubile we haven't mentioned. Remember that even himself mentioned he hasn't seen his driver. We don't know if the driver is dead or alive. Then there's also a gentleman by Emmanuel Mulenga, and he was also present in that area. And I think there must have been a guard in the guard room. If you remember the video from BMTV, the Zambia army, soldiers that arrived look like they first struck that guard room, and anyone who could have been in there and was standing, unfortunately, may be feared dead at this point. So we don't know the number of fatalities. Now, who are these servicemen? They are retired commandos. One of them is Brazil Soko. Even, I think, when I scanned through social media, there's a video that he did and posted on social media. He was talking about peace. This gentleman was saying, you don't even know what war, looks like. I think he had just come from Central African Republic, and he was praising, Zambia for being such a peaceful country. And he was talking about the elections and saying, look, as we go to the elections, let's make sure that we are a peaceful people. Now, a militia, I mean, it's crazy. It's as if people are on steroids. That's what I'm beginning to think. Are these people, do they smoke or what? Because, Ambassador, a militia is prepared in a systematic way. And that militia even has good funding. But the most basic thing you can look at is to follow these ex-commando. Go and check, where do they live? Where do they live? Check their bank accounts. How much do they have? Some of them, might not even have the money, So how are they in charge of a militia to take over a country? Come on. I mean, you can't be such paranoid. Just a few months ago, these same gentlemen are with you. The images you posted that day, Ambassador, the president was at that event, which was an ABSA Cup. The Republican president attended that event where Jackson Mtioka was offering services to Mr. Keith Mwemba, president of FAS, as well as the Republican president's lawyer. The sports minister was there. The president later came with his security detail. You mean you couldn't have seen, you couldn't have used your sophisticated means to ascertain that there was a red flag and this person is connected to a militia at that time? If you say these people have got foreign ties, what have you tied them to? Because if people have got foreign ties, then they must be receiving money from certain organizations, that are linked to terrorist groups, for instance. We must not joke about some of these things. An insurrection is not a simple thing. It just doesn't happen like that. Even an army coup d'etat, those that have been in the military and will tell you that if the most junior of soldiers organize a military coup, it is highly likely that coup will not succeed. The coup must have the blessing of some, at least senior, army personnel. Let's say some colonels at the level of a colonel, not even at the level of a lieutenant. As long as some colonels are not there, a coup will not even succeed. It's very rare that a coup will succeed, with junior officers. Now, how can a coup succeed with the 3 commandos who have even left the service? It means that even their access to the military, even their access to the barracks is limited. The only thing that you can accuse them of is maybe, well, they are misbehaving and using their expertise for illegal means. But is there any illegality in being a security personnel of a Football Association of Zambia president? Certainly not. These are people who they've served 20 years in that service. After 20 years, distinguished service, some of them, if not all of them, ambassador, for 20 years, they do not have a disciplinary record at the level of the army. They left and disengaged from the army without ever being charged for any disciplinary conduct. And a year later from their retirement, you come and accuse them of being militia. What kind of ingratitude is this? These are the people, when you look at them, that took down, they were part of the team that took down the Milone brothers. When the Milone brothers terrorized the people of Luano, the police failed to deal with that situation. The ordinary military personnel failed to deal with that situation. What do? They then went to the special forces. Among these 3 are the people that went into the bush for 7 months. Ambassador, they spent 7 months looking for the Milone brothers. These are the people who brought down the Milone brothers. Today, instead of thanking them for their distinguished service, but because you found them or you heard they were with an opposition leader who had won an election, then you start desecrating their impeccable record to the country by branding them a militia that doesn't exist. If you want to know how a militia operates, go to Somalia, Al-Shabaab. Go and check how those pirates, stop ships, in the Indian Ocean. You would know how a militia is well organized. 3 commandos in a militia with an opposition leader. I mean, must be smoking some high grade, cocaine or something. I do not think that as a country we should even be entertaining this story. This is not something we should entertain at all, especially after
sadly, Augustine, we have to entertain this story because at the center of it is lives. See what they've done to Bowden Finlay with that serious charge. See what they wish to charge Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu. So we have to entertain because the president has elevated a set of lies before the nation and he wants to be proven. I remember when President Levi Mwanawasa went to Parliament and read the serious charges against President Frederick Chiluba. And Dr. Frederick was very, very dismissive. Like he says, none of this is true. And by the time it was being proven that none was true, his life was destroyed, his reputation was scandalized, he had been put through a lot. Sadly, that set of lies can destroy lives, forever. Your information you have, you can dismiss the matter, but the president is not dismissing the matter. The good example you've given, for example, that he himself hired an ex-serviceman shortly after being fired after the Sesheke by-election. He took Sharper in, and when he won election, Sharper became his ADC. There are many opposition leaders that are guarded by former ex-servicemen in one form or another, because, they want to earn a living from the skills they have. But to allege that that's a militia crime is just totally out of this world. But also the facts do not support. Can you imagine they are raiding Mundubile's home? They've carried evidence they wish to plant. And you have seen these accusations, especially by the DEC. When they want to inconvenience you, they'll either look in your phone, and if they find naked pictures, after coming alleging that you have drugs, and they found nothing, then they'll charge you with found with pornographic material, and you'll be embarrassed before the nation. And no one asked, but what was the primary reason you went to his house, raided his house? You were looking for drugs, you didn't find him. Now you find pornographic material in his phone, then you embarrass him before to justify that issue that, look, your intelligence was faulty, your intelligence was wrong, or you acted out of malice.
Yeah.
Similarly,
Just on
this
that
case,
one.
similarly,
Just on
this
that one,
case, you want to say something?
No, I was saying just on that one, on the issue of planting material, I wanted to remind you, I don't know if you remember when Clayson Amasaka was once the communication specialist. You see, Ambassador, we want to give these examples because they have to be personable and live examples about every one of us. The situation should be indisputable. Why am I talking about Clayson Amasaka? There was a time he was summoned to the police and they got his electronic gadgets. He refused to take them back. Why did he refuse to take them back? Because he said, I do not want, to go back with something that would have been, would have materials that have been planted, because there could be pornographic materials on this now. When I get it, it becomes an offense. Okay, so just to buttress the point that you're putting across, that these state agents sometimes, if they want to inconvenience you, they plant certain materials. They plant guns. They plant, even drugs.
Yeah.
I think there was a time.
So let me bring in PS. But before PS comes in, the narrative of exchange of fire. You know why it's so folly? Why it doesn't make sense? If there is an exchange of fire, who should die? Is it Mtoteka fire who's with Brian Mundubile upstairs, or the ones you're exchanging fire with? Who dies if there is an exchange of fire?
And Ambassador, if you are saying these are snipers that you're dealing with specialized training, who died among the soldiers if there was an because they would at least have killed one or two if they are snipers with specialized training, as we've been told. That was very close range, because the yard itself is not very big. So you come in with a military vehicle, it's probably 10 meters away. These are people you've trained to shoot 500 meters away, and they get the target. So you tell us, if there was an exchange of fire, who died among the soldiers that came into the yard?
Yeah, no, it's a bogus story. That's why people are very embarrassed with Patrick Kangwa. Now vale kanako at fiberengeni mwebende. He was up there, commanded all HTF, because they make him look so foolish. So if there was an exchange of fire, the victims would be immediately where you are doing an exchange of fire. It will not be with people who are home, who are having tea, and now they're screaming going upstairs. That's where the death occurs, Richard Banda and Mtotweka fire. No, the death will occur where the fire is coming from. Exchange means I'm giving you and you are giving back. That's what it means. That's exchange. So if there's an exchange of fire, who dies? Is it the people who are not in the exchange? Come on. These lies should...
That's why it looks plausible that, they aimed for the life of an opposition leader.
Yeah.
Because that, is a case where find him and shoot. The order was given, find him and shoot. Bring him to us, dead or alive. Bring him to us, dead. Okay? So the moment, Honorable Mtotweka Fire came out, because maybe they didn't even recognize it was Honorable Mtotweka Fire, they thought this could be Brian Mundubile. Let's now fire. you know, that potentially was the order. Go and kill, you
Yeah.
know, and they
Bachanda,
executed the order.
quickly,
Yeah.
you were displaced by Augustine and you disappeared. I had to come and fish you and fetch you.
You see, Ambassador, the whole thing about the militia is it's a made up, it's a cooked thing. It's a cooked up thing. It cannot hold. It cannot hold. They are trying so hard to make it. But Ambassador, how do you explain that there was exchange of fire, and when that exchange was happening, they've not even showed that what was hit on their part from the fire that was coming from the other side. Like, oh, they shot at our vehicles and here could even be bullet holes and stuff like that. There's nothing like that. The people that were there opened fire at them. It means if they were there, they all missed, they didn't hit anything, not even one. And then the next thing, one person in an exchange of fire who is in the house dies, and the rest. I don't know why they want to think like Abantu. They are very stupid. They cannot put one and one together. Just making this horrible ukubepa vyobo vivye just ukubepesha abantu for the purposes of just wanting to kill them. This issue of militia, this issue of backfire, being shot and crossfire, there's no truth in it. When you start to ask them, they don't answer, they are failing to answer the questions. And when they fail to answer the questions, the next thing is that, no, you can't come here and kill. Yes, you can't come here. No one is even interested in having killers to come and kill our, to come and disturb our peace in the country. But then you cannot create a scenario where you want to use it to kill other people so that you eliminate them. Can you provide evidence? And Zambians have been waiting for that evidence which is linking people. But again, even the evidence that you are going to bring, it will be very, very difficult to connect people because it is cooked up. You are cooking up. If you're wondering, when things happen, what you should have done was not done. What should have been done was not done. So to come and say, no, there was it doesn't make sense. And look at the composition, Bambasa. I'm very much interested in this composition of this task force. Can we know the names of the people that went through there? Because they were carrying out a raid on our behalf as people to remove the militia. So who are they? Drug enforcement, who was there? The stories of everything is not just adding up. Ilili Ashira Kwati Kuriba militia, the one that went top of government. There is no militia from anywhere. The militias that we have seen them. Baleuma abantu, they are abducting people. When a person speaks, is abducted, he disappears. Then the next thing, you come and create a fictitious thing. Mukandila has been with you. He's been part of your community. He's lived with you. He's been in your classes. Then at Neruava foreigner. And therefore you want to even waste time on that. Distraction from accountability. Ambassador, we need accountability. When a country loses accountability, it loses itself. You can't have people that shot, killed. Nobody's talking about holding them to account. Not suspended, not investigated, nothing. You end up starting to investigate the person that has been killed. He can't talk. He can't cross-examine. He can't do anything. Abashu, till they are there. And they keep on having this right to take away lives and arrest people, beat up people. There's evidence. I think I wouldn't say there's evidence. There's serious allegation that people have been tortured, beaten. Now, court. Where is the rule of law? Who is responsible for taking them to court? Now, this system is going to come after you, the people that have the responsibilities. Imagine you are the one who should be able to complete the docket, make sure DPP looks on it, people appear in court. You don't do it. Next time, you will go through the same process. Why are we destroying our country? Like, if a woman is it is just meant to batter so that they keep on beating people, they keep on killing people. They do not want accountability for the wrong things that have been done. But on this forum, by plead, we must be able to speak about how fake this thing is. This is fake. It is a make-believe. It is crafted. It is a distraction. And it is meant to say, let's have a lot of people talk about it like they're militias. There's none. We just need
PS have insisted that the reason they've planted this militia story is to take away from two critical issues. Number one, the presence of the military in polling station, totaling centers, and together there are many witnesses, thousands of witnesses to the actions of the military. And this is not the ordinary military. This is a special unit of the Zambia army. Your special forces are the ones that are doing this countrywide. So results are being altered, and this is being attributed to the presence of either UPND cadres of the army. They don't want that matter discussed because under United Nations rules on democracy and elections, that's a serious violation, the presence of the military anywhere inside any poll center. They are not allowed. The charter have been citing, the African Charter on Democracy and Elections. Again, it forbids. In fact, it immediately calls such an election a coup. That's how we call it, and I'm going to read it for you. So they want you, like we have done the last 1 hour, discussing the militia. That's what they want. They want the nation discussing the militia. Number two, they don't want us to pay attention that President Hakainde Hichilema, we have, all of us have recorded. For me, I put all the announcements made by ECZ, I recorded the entire things because a time like this will come. They've announced results, some in some cases, where there are more, the president got more votes than the number of registered voters. They announced the president getting 50,000, for example, in Solwezi. Then the MP and mayor got 25,000. So you are telling me that 54,000 people went to vote for the president. Then 25,000 of those 54,000 didn't vote for either mayor or MP. If they didn't, then where are the 25,000 spoiled vote? They don't want us to discuss such blatant irregularities that have stolen an election. They don't want us to discuss that they've killed people. A lot of people are SMSing me, confirm, Patrick Mwaz, confirm. We want to Akwaleza. When I went live the first time on Friday after they had shot Mtoto Kafwaya, and Brian Mundubile announced that Mtoto Kafwaya had been shot. And the following day, we knew what had happened. We knew the fate of Honorable Mtoto Kafwaya. But we are a decent media. We can't pronounce. We are not competent to make such a pronouncement. Even when we have the facts, In fact, for us journalists, we are told when you are doing an accident story, I go to the accident scene and I've seen the driver. The torso is this side, the head is this side. I cannot say the driver is dead. I am not competent. Even if I have seen that this one has died, all I can say is that the driver was feared dead. I cannot pronounce. So for lives, and that's why you are putting pressure elsewhere. The pressure should be with the police. How many died at Brian Mundubile's residence? That's where the pressure should be. For example, why are they hiding and not naming Richard Banda? And they came and named him with the others like he was detained. Okay, if he was detained, tell us. So he's not dead? I know that the 3 ex-commandos and Patrick Mwansa were severely tortured. I've just told you that one of the lawyers that had visited another client yesterday saw the state in which he was. He was clearly unwell, limping. If something has happened, we'll let you know. But please don't push us. Our pressure should be to the police. Our pressure should be to the police. There are these rumors. What Joseph Mwenda should be saying like today, if he was, a proper journalist, is that we have heard rumors that Patrick Mwansa has died. He has access to them. Looking at the material he's publishing. Augustine, you're a journalist like them. He has close proximity with them. He's a trusted person who can find out. There was a rumor about Bishop Trevor Mwamba that I can confirm as well. He's distraught. Bishop Trevor Mwamba is extremely... this is a bishop, Anglican bishop, saved in London, was Botswanan Anglican bishop, chief bishop, for decades. His wife is an ambassador. He has such a distinguished international record. Then you throw him in Matero. His entire crime, just like George Sanga, is that he's an alliance partner with Brian Mundubile, and they participated in an election. And that day, Brian was going to see the African Union observer mission. He chose people he thought would competently represent him. So you can see how he picked. He picked uniquely George Sanga. George Sanga, is a legal luminary, former last president, and you have seen as a parliamentarian his consistent arguments in exposing President Hakainde Hichilema's misrule and misgovernance. He picked Bishop Trevor Mwamba because of his distinguished international record. And of course, with his sobriety, when the tempers flare up, he purposefully chose those people. So Bishop Trevor Mwamba today is a militia, all because he accompanied Brian Mundubile to meet the African Union Commission observer team. Patrick Mwansa has been the logistics guy to this election. His only crime, he's married to Tarsila Lungu, and you've seen how the Lungus have been humiliated, targeted. Even the late president himself has died under those very difficult circumstances. So why did they pick and choose to torture Patrick Mwansa? Because of that. You can see that this illegal team, military raid on Brian Mundubile, has chosen people they are picking. They kill Mtoto Kafwaya. From my understanding, they thought he was Makebi Zulu. So he's taken the bullet not just for Mundubile, but also for Makebi Zulu. Then why have they tortured severely Patrick Mwansa? Why haven't they tortured the so-called ex-commanders? I know even them, one of them was limping from yesterday's report. But why beat a gentleman, former ward councillor, former, is our civic leader? And if you've seen Patrick, he's such a gentleman. His role there was merely logistics. Because when there were these threats against Brian Mundubile, you could see that both Makebi and Brian, their entourage became very lean. They were using obscure cars, changing cars, because of the threats on their lives during especially that period. They want us to discuss the story they've given us of militias so that we don't discuss in detail the EU Observer Mission Report, the church groups mission report from this election, the African Union Observer Mission Report. They don't want us to expose that President Hakainde Hichilema has stolen this election with the help of the military. Yesterday, gentlemen, I was alone on the program, and I'm going to throw this to you. I have noted with very serious concerns as a former diplomat the involvement of the military. That's why we banned them as African Union and the UN from them participating in elections, other than their role in supporting the police in security. We do not allow them to be near polling stations or inside polling stations or polling centers or totaling centers. It's just a no-go area. In fact, I was telling you that charter, that particular clause is called the coup clause because it's immediately equated to a coup. To allow the military participate in this election, I was arguing yesterday that Ziele is very smart. He just didn't use your ordinary soldiers. He chose your special forces. This is a small elite unit of the Zambia army, highly trained. He has personalized them. He has deployed them into civic duties. He becomes untouchable. You can't fire him. If you fire him, you leave aggrieved a following of the special unit. And he is entrenching himself. What does Ziele have? There are 4 serious allegations against him. I will not discuss, I never discussed the tribal issue that is a cousin to the president. I never discussed those issues. But he was fired. First, he has a terrible record as an officer. He was in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and was under the charge of this Zambian and Indian unit. And the rebels captured them, and he ran away. He deserted. That record has never left you. Google it, 2000, 2001. Desertion in the army, Bachanda, Mariako ku service. Desertion is a serious. This man left his soldiers, abandoned them. They had to be rescued. It's a huge story. 300 Zambian soldiers. Commander Abutuka. Well, Akwela. 2015, it still haunted him. He was in Kabwe. The misconduct he did during that period, they said, when you can't be a member of the army. So they retired him, I think at the level of Brigadier General, because of his misconduct. But of course, he told the story. He was supporting UPND in 2015, and he misconducted himself, so they relieved him of his duties. Of course, then President Hakainde Hichilema thinks he's being victimized because he's stronger. You know the story. So the president comes, he becomes president, he appoints him, promotes him to Major General, and makes him Deputy Army Commander, and who's the Chief of Staff. So the Army Commander is like a minister, the Deputy is the Chief of Staff, is like the PS, procurement staff, all those operation issues are under, administrative issues are under the Deputy, acts like a PS, both at ZAF, ZNS, and Zambia Army. So the UN, we are part of the team. We've deployed some of the largest number in Central Africa, where there is a UN peace mission to Central Africa. Some of the procurement is done by our Zambia Army and our Ministry of Defense, because we have such a huge role. We manage a lot of things. So they trusted us with the procurement of hospitals in Central Africa, to deploy to Central Africa, and hospital equipment. When the corruption matter erupts, the Zambia Army commander is caught in the thick of things. You remember that this clown, Tabokawana, turned up to say, what is this corruption the Kenyan media is writing about? Because the contract was given to the two Kenyans who were running a nation to procure this. And they were fighting. After all, this contract was overinflated by almost 80%. And you alone, you have eaten the money alone. That was the issue. And you sent, a detailed report. Google it, you find that story. All the players are named, not from Zambia, from the Kenyan media. Everyone paid a contract, so you direct and never chawe. Nadi tumina ko inoa ku Zambia amo you commander deputy. Nadi tumina ko $300,000. Balelwa beka ku Kenya. It's not our matter. But the Financial Intelligence Center has picked that 300,000. That is being discussed in Kenya. And it's a subject of active investigations in Zambia. And the SEC picks up that report and begin to move in to arrest the the Deputy Army Commander Ziele. Before an arrest could take place, the Army Commander is removed by the President. The one who's under subject of this intense corruption allegation is the one that is promoted by the President and quickly sworn in. Where would you think those investigations would go? And of course, the President was aware from day one when the FIC reported that they were investigating the Ziele. When the SEC picked up the investigations and they're about to arrest Ziele, the President knew. But what does he do? He loves that. He loves very weak people. If you look at the key people, all of them, Nelly Muti, 35 million kwacha for retirees. She has a NOLE. She has an active civil case. Bo Mwangala, Bo Makwenyani, she's the first non-judicial officer to be ECZ. The 81-year-old has been brought there, for, Kima Kwenyani, I'll not say much. But the Zambia Army Commander, he loves people that are extremely weak because they're easier to manipulate. They're easier to follow. And Ziele is corruption tainted. Recently, there's been an investigation that I'm aware of that has been, there are concerns around some 500 kg of gold that both the Zambia Army got, and I think ZNS is also implicated in this matter. So there are these issues. When you see him act to preserve the UPND in government, to preserve the president in government, it's self-preservation. And he has used the special unit of the army to do this bidding. And now we have the militia story to contend with. Now we have a former minister that has died. Now we have other people that died from this fake and false militia story. So they want us to forget all those detailed questions. Augustine.
Ambassador, the pertinent question we are raising is, how did we get here? Who ordered that operation? How much intelligence information did we have in order for us to execute such an assignment? More often than not, the balance of those answers you give will be less than 50%, if not 25% and less. And that, it was just a botched operation. It should never have occurred. But you see, if we don't talk about it here, we don't give the people the other side of the story, we don't demonstrate to the people what we know is obtaining, we are starving a population with a one-sided narrative that is trying to criminalize innocent people in our society. I just don't know where this paranoia is coming from. I think the president, Mr. Ichilema, is a paranoid man. Um, he's scared of his own shadow. I am not too sure what has he done to himself in life that he should be, so jittery at the slightest of opposition. What is wrong? How was he brought up without any form of competition? What kind of upbringing did he have? Is my question. Because in life, when you have some sort of competition as you grow, you know that sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, and life as it is, sometimes you're just level, you equal. Those of us who come from the background of sport know that in every sports game, in every football match, soccer match, there are three results. You win, you are happy. You lose, you are sad. You draw, I mean, the feeling is neither here or there, depending on the circumstances and the competition you're in. But that helps you understand that such is life. That helps you prepare for the next time. That should I fall today, next time I'll still be able to wake up and walk forward, because it is always going like their symbol forward. But you find that for him, he seems to be so consumed in this environment where he thinks everyone is after him, or everyone is, wants something, a piece of him. He's not the first Zambian president. There was Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, 27 years. He ruled the great country of Zambia. There was Dr. Chiluba, 10 years. There was Dr. Mwanawasa, 7 years. There was my big man, Rupia Bwezani-Banda, 3 years. 20 years of the MMD rule. Then we came to the great man Michael Chilufiasat. We moved on to ECL, and now we have him, as president. Plus this, second term he has stolen, that is a subject of dispute, or is it a second term that has been handed to him by the army? Because he didn't win this election. The soldiers gave him this election. It was not his victory. And if the Constitutional Court, those men and women some of whom may be related to him, would want to maintain or would want to preserve their dignity and their reputation, they will make a decision in the interest of the people. And if you've observed, that is why he is so uneasy about this petition. He doesn't even want it to go to court. And what happened?
In fact, that's what brings my second question. Tim, let's migrate to the next question. Like Augustine has hinted, there is an active attempt to stop the Brian Mundubile from filing this nomination to challenge the re-election of President Hakainde Hichilema. We have seen a flurry of activities. They've arrested Celestine Mukandila, who's Secretary General, and they want to slap some funny immigration status case against him. They've arrested a former Constitutional Court judge, Annie Mwewa Stalin, and they've infiltrated the NRPUP party, where you have seen Ezra Tembo alleged that he has removed Brian Mundubile and congratulated the president and stated that they are not pursuing anything. It's time to close the chapter. The president has won. Let's look forward for the sake of peace and unity. Then you have seen infiltrators. I had alerted you that is an attempt from Tonse and Pamosi Alliance. There were maneuvers to attempt to remove Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu. And publicly, I called out Zumani here, Zimbabwe. I urged him not to do what he did in 2021. I rarely discuss personalities or my colleagues. But Zumani has issued another statement where he says, I cannot be part to this election petition. His president has issued two statements. that he's going ahead with the election petition. He is Secretary General. He's supposed to implement the decision of his president. He's the one this morning has posted on his page that he will not be part to such. He claims there are too many people that are locked up. People have died, so therefore there is time to heal. Does healing come without justice? Does healing come without putting the facts together? I think does healing and forgiveness come by burying the truth? That would be my question to Zumanzimba. And it's been supported by Bao Sampa that Zumanzimba is correct. But it demonstrates what we've been warning you, that all these schemes are being orchestrated to ensure that Brian Mundubile doesn't file his petition. Brian Mundubile runs out of time that he doesn't file that petition. And now is being eaten, not from outside, but also from inside, like Zumanzimba, who's the Secretary General, he gave himself I don't know how many titles. He's supposed to be carrying out instructions of his president. He is not. He says he will not be part to it. So let's discuss, why is Brian Mundubile petitioning? Why is he petitioning? Let's start with PS Chanda Kazia.
It's the sake of justice. He is petitioning to seek justice. And we all have seen the violations. And the Honorable Ambassador, if people turn back and look the other way, when there are these obvious bad interferences from the military, the Electoral Commission not doing what they should do, defranchising people, suspending the elections, Brian Mundubile is trying to help bring the country to its own rules and procedures that it has designed for itself. He is not just petitioning for his own good. He is petitioning this election to make sure that we all become accountable to our rules, the rules for which we have designed for ourselves, that every 5 years, this is how we do it. We will register, we will go and vote, the votes shall be counted, and the winner shall be declared. This process, we've been having it. We have been doing it. The issue of having the military go in these polling stations, chase up people, the next thing, numbers just dwindle, numbers from the blue, numbers that cannot be accounted for, show up. And you gave an example, 25,000, then 55,000. Can someone explain? Even the UPND itself cannot find explanations for that. They will just glaze over it. They will not look at it. President Mundubile is saying, can we have accountability on that? President Mundubile is petitioning because how we can't allow an individual go and disturb a constitutional mandate without consequences. President Mundubile is asking those questions. And you see, if we is allowed not to go with this process, if this process is stopped now, the future of our Zambian democracy will be seriously in jeopardy. If it can only do so much, and if the president, President HH, does not support this process, even if it disadvantages him, he will be setting a country on a very difficult trajectory after he leaves office. Because ultimately, one day he will leave office. President Mundubile is trying to correct things. And when I hear that the Tonse alliance is infiltrated and they take the path that they are taking, I couldn't believe when I saw Ezra. I couldn't believe when I saw the other band from Rosary Party. I don't know much about Zuman. I haven't read what he said. But I saw how you came out at him. And Chris needs to sit down and reflect on the issues that you raised. He needs to even know where President Mundubile is. It is for the good of our country. So for me, President Mundubile is petitioning this election to put things right so that the court should be able to make a decision. The evidence will be there for everybody to see. This will be part of our history, that this is a dark part that we almost went into, but God willing, we came out of it. If we slide into this part where now, to stop everybody from going into the petition, arrest lawyers, arrest supporters, arrest judges, former judges that you've known, you start to think that, oh, they're about to commit a crime just from the blues, from your head. You create that, scare the judges. So now, when the judges are scared, what happens when this matter goes before them? They will rule in most likely in favor of the president. But I know that if judges have the spine, they can defy presidents. Judges have done that before. And that is the fear that the current government has. It is the judges being judges and standing on the right side of the law. So that is why I see that President Mundubile is petitioning this is for the good of the country. I don't know if you are able to hear me, Ambassador.
Sorry, my brother, sorry. You were
Yeah.
saying?
No, I'm saying that I hope, and I didn't hear you, so I was asking this. Are you able to hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we have to mute
Yeah.
so that
Yes.
the echo between the three microphones does create noise. Yeah.
Okay. So I've just summarized that he is doing it for the good of our country, that we should never depart from this process which we've designed for ourselves. He is just a vessel who is seeking justice for all.
Augustine.
Ambassador, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll start from Comrade Zumani's position. He may not be the only one with that position. And I would state here that, Ambassador, I've received phone calls from other senior colleagues who feel that, since the petition will be somewhat an academic exercise, it would not be the right course of action. However, I think that we all agree, we all saw it with our naked eyes, that this election was the most shambolic in the history of Zambia since 1991. Of course, during the one-party rule, we did have a candidate, on the ballot with a frog. And that was something else. But when we changed and moved on into the multi-party system, I think we've been a beacon of Africa. We've held brilliant elections. They have not been the most perfect. And that represents the majority of us in this generation. It is what we've been associated with as we've grown up. Because when you look at most of us in 1991, you know, we were very young men. Others were probably in their 20s, maybe voting for the first time. Some of us were we not even teenagers at the time, but we could follow events in life. So we've grown up knowing too well that a Zambian every 5 years would wake up and exercise his right, you know, to choose those that he wants to govern them. Yes, sometimes we support candidates that do not win. And when we do that, you know, we must accept that there is win, there is lose. But you want to lose on a fair score. I'll give you an example. Again, I give football examples because I'm a sports person. In 1993, when we lost the entire team in the plane crash in Gabon, we rebuilt a team that was supposed to go to the World Cup for the US 94. We missed the World Cup by a whisker because we were supposed to, to draw against Morocco away in Morocco, Casablanca. But we were beaten 1-0. How were we beaten? There was a gentleman by the name of Jean-Fidel Diramba from Gabon. The man was against us. Every core was against Zambia. We were so upset. We staged a protest when the team came back, from the airport. We went into town. Everything bad in Zambia was named after Diramba. When you see a dog, you don't like it, it's a Diramba. A township that was, something else, it was a Diramba. Everything bad. In fact, that name in our dictionary, it represented everything that was bad. So when you lose a football match unfairly, you don't always concede. That's why you even petition for a replay. You demand a replay at a neutral venue. And this is what we are saying, or this is what Brian Mundubile is saying. Honorable Brian Mundubile is saying, look, if we continue on this score, that this election should be legitimized in the manner it was held, we would set a dangerous precedent in our democracy. Why? Because in 2031, President Hakainde Hichilema will pick, let's say for argument's sake, Jito, and impose them on the UPND. He will cause Yele to bring special forces onto the streets, and then without any form of competition from other capable Zambians, Jito would have been installed as Republican president. Is that the kind of democracy we want? A democracy where it will be uneven to compete with those that do not have power? I do not think so. And I think posterity would have judged those who participated in this election harshly. Yes, you want to move on. You want to say, let's, forget about this and heal. Let me give you an example of one thing, and this is very hurtful. The government today sends a message of condolences to Honorable Mtoto Kafaya's family. One thing they haven't done is apologize for taking his life, for cutting short his life. So if you haven't apologized for cutting somebody's life short, do you think that condolence, when you condole with the family, are they going to accept it? It will look like you're making fun of them. You kill my relative and you come to condole me without taking responsibility. You kill my relative, you hide them away in a location where I can't access them for 6 days. When I go to court to demand that you bring my relative from wherever you're keeping them so that I can have access to them, then you bring them now, or you invite me to force headquarters and say, no, we have an unidentified body, come and identify it. Then I come, I identify that this is my relative who's been deceased for the last 6 days. Tomorrow you come out and say, no, I apologize. We apologize. Sorry, not we apologize. You say condolences. Have you taken responsibility? No, you haven't. So am I going to accept your condolences? I mean, I'm only human. I can't. For me, I can't. I'll think you're fooling me. Okay. So who has taken responsibility for the chaos that was created around the election? Is there anyone who has admitted that there was a problem in this electoral process? Is there anyone who has admitted that there was tear gas used to disrupt the vote counting in Kabwe Wacha? Has anyone taken responsibility that results, for instance, in Lupososh, produced 2 members of parliament? So which member of parliament is going to be representing the people of Lupososh? Because there's one that was announced who is NRPUP, and there's another one that was announced who is UPND. Has anyone taken responsibility for that? Has anyone taken responsibility for the violence, systematic and well-planned and instigated by a non-UPND cadre in Lusaka by the name of Kalufiani? All those numbers that the UPND got are not their numbers. Has anyone taken responsibility? Certainly not. Should we legitimize the sham of an election that it was without bringing it to a test? All that Honorable Brian Mundubile is doing is to bring on record the sham of an election that it was. The high likelihood, or there is a possibility that the judges will be intimidated, the judges will make a decision that will not satisfy the petitioners. But let's not forget, when you go to court, you're putting a matter on record. You're documenting it. It becomes substantive archive. But if you don't go to court, everything that we're talking about this election will be forgotten as business as usual. But are you happy that this is a standard we should set for ourselves in terms of holding election? Even when we had Nikov voters' cards, our standards were way better. So if our standards in 1996 were better than they are in 2026, are we making progress or we are regressing? We are certainly regressing. So what can we do to ensure that we make progress? Should Honorable Brian Mundubile and others go to court, even if they don't get a result that they ordinarily should get? One thing for sure is the people who organize the next election will be very careful, because it will be embarrassing. It will embarrass the executive, it will embarrass the judiciary. And we'll have a weak legislature. And that's why I don't agree, with Comrade Zuman. There's already a life that has been lost. So are we just going to ignore the lives that have been lost and say it's business as usual, let's move on? Would we have fought for our dear brother Mtote Kafwaya? You're describing him in all manner of things. How nice he was, how brotherly he was, but have you fought for him? Have you stood by him in this hour of reckoning? We all know that the Republican president doesn't want this petition. He's doing everything he can to avoid seeing that petition in court. And if the petition itself doesn't go to court, it will be victory to him. But all that needs to be done is to bring it before the courts of law. When it's brought before the court, let's look at the argument. Do they have substance? Can they be justified? Can they be substantiated? Is there evidence? Overwhelming evidence. The rigging was grand scale. There've been moments that we've known elections are rigged, but the type of rigging that occurred in this election, it's like you walk into somebody's home and you start doing things and he's just watching you, standing and watching you. Are you going to allow that? I mean, there was a video, I think, on social media a few days ago, a couple of days ago. A couple walks into people's home and they end up in the bedroom. The owner of the house is shocked. What are you doing here? You have to take action. You can't just watch people just come walk into your house and you stand and do nothing. No, we cannot have an election that is organized by the military. We can't. Then at this point, let's agree. Let's appoint the Lieutenant General Ziele as president, because that is what we want, and we will not go to court. Let's have a military state. Let's be ruled by the army, because they are the owners of the election. Then we don't even have to waste billions of funds printing ballots in Dubai. The army would lead us. Let them take over the country.
Indeed, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, for those joining us, you are on the EMV Breakfast Show. We're discussing the various issues, but prime to our discussion is the fate of Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu. They're trying to file in a petition to challenge the re-election of President Hakainde Hichilema. And we're discussing the various issues that have come around to prevent them from doing so, including the police yesterday issuing a call up for them that they should report to the police. They sought shelter at the United Nations facility for one simple reason: they feared their life. There had been a military raid on unarmed, persons. The family of Brian Mundubile's home was in Mwamba, who has been part of the alliance partners with Sakuya Skota, Shalakateka and others. Bishop Trevor Mwamba is UNIP president. We have other people that were with Brian Mundubile that day. After the military raid, they didn't feel safe. And then they obtained information that there were attempts to stop them from filing of nominations, and that during this 7-day period, they should be kept away. The militia story heightened. The president has repeated it 3 times just this week when he was addressing the students, when he was addressing his last media appearance before we went to elections, and his team repeated that story. So Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu fearing for their lives. Because if you are home, you bring cadres, they'll call them militia. Who can protect you against an elite unit of the Zambia Army Commander? No one. So they walked into this facility, and Brian Mundubile has issued 2 statements repeating that he will challenge the election results. We learned that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has since written to the United Nations country resident coordinator to surrender Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu. There are 2 reports that emerged this overnight that Patrick Mwansa, one of the people that were in the entourage, has passed on. We cannot confirm that. And I see in the comments you want us to confirm. Please wait. Please wait. We are not competent to confirm that. It sets trauma to the family and to everyone else. Let us tell you what is confirmed. But what is confirmed, for example, is a letter written to the UN country coordinator, resident coordinator, that she should surrender Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu. What is correct is that after we expose that they've set up charges of treason and insurrection against Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu, you saw them frantically call a press conference deep in the night where the Inspector General of Police confirmed what we had given to you 2 hours earlier. Another person is saying they've surrounded the United Nations building and they're trying to invade in. No, first of all, it would be folly for President Hakainde Hichilema to do that. The United Nations premises are protected areas, like diplomatic facilities. You cannot invade them. You cannot. It would be a very big a breach against the Vienna Conventions. And I know a lot of illegal things have been done in our country, but I don't think that a President Hakainde Hichilema will proceed to do that. I don't think so. Maybe my team think that he can invade the UN. I don't think he can. He will wait. They will wait. And we haven't had an opportunity, I think, for courtesy's sake, people should remember the case of Julian Assange, the international journalist and WikiLeaks founder, who was leaking this cache and batches of intelligence information, cables, and they were looking for him. He hid, I think, for over 10 years at an embassy. An embassy is a protected area. So let me open the phone lines. You've been itching to call. I've got a panel of, helping me. Augustine Mukoka, international sports writer, and Chandakazia, a dear brother of mine. He spoke very nice mambo yesterday, reprimanding Njenje Chizu. He talked to him as a child, and he used mambo. I loved that. So let's take the calls from you. The lines are open. Let's hear from you.
Yes.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Yeah, I'm calling from Lusaka. I'm Ishmael. Hello?
Yes, make your contribution.
Yes. My contribution is concerns the death of our former minister. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, my brother. Continue.
Okay. My contribution is I think we should have that freedom to question the leaders. Because at first they denied, second they said yes. So we need to have that unbiased mind. And I urge NRPUP supporters and UPND to think about their children's future. It's not about these political parties, these two. It's about us, the future. It's about tomorrow. Yeah. So I think we should I don't know if it's bad to ask the police if they are telling the truth, or I don't know if it's an offense, or if we don't need to support Mundubile or to support UPND. We need to think on our own. We need to analyze these two situations. Some UPND supporters are just saying rubbish. Even Brian Mundubile supporters are just saying rubbish without thinking. Being unbiased, it's about their future, not about these two political parties.
Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Anonymous from Lusaka.
Anonymous, make your contribution.
Okay. Ambassador, it's true that now let us have a look at Okotulea no Matwalash Tashan. I'm so much concerned to know how the president Balash Tanani, Balash petition that is something that I would love the panel to answer me. Balash petition then also, but no petition because in Shikushilea Puntaj.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning.
First of all, I'd like to lodge my disappointment in the USA to congratulate someone who has won through fraudulent. I'm so disappointed. Then Irwa Mukoka was wondering about the kind of the president current. Just allow me a few minutes to read out some personality disorders that associate with dictators, and let people compare to what kind of a person we are dealing with. Okay. The first one is what Dr. Sampa tried to explain. a narcissistic personality disorder. So leaders with this personality disorder show extreme need for admiration, grandiose feelings of self-importance, and a total lack of empathy, okay, for others. They don't have empathy. These are some of the traits we are seeing in this man we are having currently. The second one is antisocial personality disorder. So this involves a reckless disregard for social norms, decisiveness, manipulation of others, and a striking absence of remorse or guilt. They won't forgive, they don't play by the rules, by their own rules. Then the third one is paranoid. So they have intense and founded suspicions that others are plotting against them, like what they are doing currently. So they are so paranoid. Okay? Then the fourth one, they are sadistic. They are sadists. Okay? They enjoy cruelty or inflicting pain on others. Then they feel nice. They feel nice. So this is the kind of the person we are dealing with a lot of personality disorders. So I don't know. May just God help us, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make a contribution.
Yes, Ambassador. I've sent quite a number of messages to you without any response. Anyhow, without taking too much of your time, my contribution is this. The operation on Mundubile residence, it's my conviction that there wasn't anything intelligent about it to start with. Because if you can look at the whole scenario, we've spoken about the special forces being deployed by the army commander. What you should know is that those people are deployed at it's a president who's deployment for the special forces, so the army commander. And if you look at the whole thing, the way it's been going, this whole thing was expected. To start with, how would they release Mundubile if Mundubile was with the so-called militia? You see, that's a discrepancy. You see, if he was part of a militia, there was no reason for them to release him. The militia story came on only after they realized that they had to come up with a cover story for what they had done. You see, for now, that's my contribution.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Okay, good morning, Ambassador. James from Dola. Good morning, panelists.
Good morning.
I think my word on this thing is that a petition, I think, is one good thing that can be done. It's not a crime to petition an election, especially when we look at the irregularities that have been cited by even election monitors. It's important that we do that. Because even in football, if someone scores a goal that is suspicious, there's what they call VAR to verify and check on what really happened. So I think the courts should be, I can call them as the VAR, that can look through this issue and give a correct position. But to just say no, they shouldn't petition, I think that is very unfortunate and doesn't paint a very good picture in our democratic dispensation. And then secondly, on our two brothers, Mr. Brian Mundubile and Mr. Makebi. Ambassador, you are a diplomat. You know how these diplomatic things work. How possible is that those people be fished out of the UN house? We are worried because there are so many things that are still happening in the country, because there is this election. I think even the reason why it must be petitioned is we saw a lot of blocking, a lot of violence. We saw a lot of during election, a lot of things were happening. And I think those are the grounds. Almost the whole NRPUP are in custard. So it doesn't paint a very good picture, really. I don't know where we are going, and we are so worried as the Zambians. Only a person who is not in his frame of mind can be excited about this thing, because it's happening to NRPUP. The next it will be happening to another party. So we need really to be serious and set the ground, a very fertile ground for democracy to flourish peacefully. Yeah, that's what I can say, Sam. Thank you.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I would like to remain anonymous. Ambassador Mamba, I would like to find out when candidates are being cleared by the police and other departments of the government prior to filing in their nominations, if they are under investigation for anything, would they be cleared? I ask this because I believe Brian Mundubile had to go through that process, and if at all he was under any investigation, I don't think he would be cleared for him to even stand as a presidential candidate. Thank you. I just seek clarity on that.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello. Okay.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm calling from Copper Belt.
Okay.
Hello, are you getting me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Sina tsafu okula nfeko kutila tine okula ndi tine chinga Zambia tairi bwino apayifikire. And then the problem is nama pasta na benda bafide bayibimbamo muri ifi chika, because there is nowhere if in fiambo kutika certainly ngefyare tika yatwale pukera bameze bari tulembera whereby not umfachu muntu nafwa, and then they keep on kula tulembera message whereby that you have to be aware of false reports. Wow, people are dying, and which is not okay. As the nation, we have to wake up and to think about it. We are human beings. We shouldn't be like that. When people are dying, that is not the nation we want. Where are we going? Finish today, finish today, future, finish today, if you am below Chicago, but you are into Bafumino Teko, what you am below Conga, and about you about feeding them of here until Pariba Edicarum. So easy to live Muchalo. Where are we going as the nation? Because until Abanakufialwa. So when are we going to cut it? That seed? And to make matters worse, now outside country like Siawan, Uyamuntu alete chimfungane mkatika Zambia, they are getting advice from him. So as a nation, we have to think about it. We have to think about it. Future abana fiala. What will happen in future? We have to think about future.
Family, we've been joined by Dr. Brian Sampa. He'll be making his remarks. We missed him, but he was with me last night. He made some contributions last night. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello?
Yes, caller.
I mean, anonymous.
Yes, anonymous.
So I'll start first of all by quoting what Dr. Shua once said, to say, if you think you've seen the West in this country, wait until you see Zambia hit rock bottom and Aka engage him. He wasn't joking. He was very serious. And we should also learn to follow what Dr. Shua is often writing. Then Ambassador Mwamba mentioned to say no, the president cannot storm the UN protection area. We need to understand the man we are dealing with. He has no honor. If a man can commit such crimes in a foreign country like South Africa, plan all those to my group finish wearing a firo. So we should be careful, and we need to know and understand the man we're dealing with. He's capable of anything. There is no honor in a thief. What you say, whether Mwaradira or Chivasha,
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Ambassador, I'm calling from Soloizi and I remain anonymous.
Yes, anonymous. You are speaking away from the phone, Mama. You are speaking away from the phone. Speak in the phone and speak a bit louder.
Okay, good morning. Can you get me now?
Yes, now we can get you.
Yes, so I was saying I'm calling from Soloizi.
Thank you.
Anonymous, yes. So my contribution is just on the petition. Looking at the current events that are going on now, that they are trying to cripple our president, Honorable Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu, and we can really see that they don't want them to win. So what are we doing about it as Zambians, or perhaps you, to seek aid from outside so that they can be helped? Because literally you can see that time is going, and because they're trying to come up with issues, to cook. So what are we doing about it? Because money will be needed, and of course I think it's now time that we need to stand up and now seek for help, because the evidences are there and we can literally see that they don't want them to petition. So what are we doing about it? Because days are going. So that I seek an answer to that question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from and make your contribution.
So as one of those people who
Ambassador, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm calling you from Luansha.
Make your contribution, my brother.
Yes, Ambassador. I've just got some few questions. Then, as well as the comment on the same issue of police calling out President Brian Mundubile and Vice President Makebi Zulu. First and foremost, maybe it's just a caution. I think President Brian Mundubile and Vice President should not even show up to the police, because it might be a trap trying to lure them out wherever they are. I'm assuming definitely no one knows where they are as of now. So they're trying to use that as a trap to bring them out so that they arrest them. Trust me. Otherwise, there should be some kind of protection. Then my questions now are these. The shooting that occurred, Oliver Brian Mundubile, the police telling me that the people around that area, because most of them, they are saying, any gunshot. Since the police were saying, no, there was gunshots exchange and the likes. Now, can really the police really confirm that indeed those gunshots were exchanged in the place where President Mundubile was? So these are some of the questions that people should give answers to. And trust me, I'm arrest we see more arrests. What the European government is trying to do is to cripple, or rather to kill the opposition in Zambia, so that now is that democracy? If you do like so we can't be saying like that. So to me, I think President Brian Mundubile and Vice President Makebi Zulu should not even show up. Because the moment they do that, Mwana Mona New Zealand Boko Shongoloka. Yala Vani arrest, no treason, where under treason. And they are saying, no, they've been investigating issues that they are linked to for 3 years. Which 3 years, Mwana Dwagati? Which 3 years? Because it's been a surprise even to the entire world that Makebi Zulu and Brian Mundubile came into existence just 3 months prior to elections. Like no man's land that gave them diarrhea by UPNG. To say Zambians really wanted change, and that was why Brian Mundubile went viral out there. So please, Nganamkwatako, Hamba contacts for the president of Brian Mundubile and Makebi. Tell them they shouldn't even go. If they are to go there, we are appealing Ngankuli UN. No for protection. Otherwise, failure to which Molasangati, the other Badiashiri, these guys, they are there, they've been given direct instructions, if you to eliminate anybody that is opposing them. That is what they are trying to do. And that is not democracy. But what Mr. Hichilema should know is that Tabate Kamuya Yaya, Navina one day, Chikavasanga, and Ingachavasanga. Awe. Thank you so much.
Let me bring in Dr. Sampa to say he must be burning. He wants to say something, and he has just joined us. Doc, let's bring you in. Thank you for joining us and make your contribution.
Good morning. I'm sorry for the delay. Some hiccups up here. But yeah, thank you so much, Ambassador, for giving me an opportunity. So, Vakazia, how are you? Mkoka. Yeah. Okay,
It's good to see
so
you.
I wanted to make a comment on a number of issues. Number one, I want to talk about the CCMG report that said that no, actually Hakainde won by 50%, and that nothing was going to change even if otherwise. Now, I just want to let the people know and try to enlighten the people about the kind of research these guys did. You know, when you are doing research, there are a lot of parameters that you need to look at. Number one, what's the sample size of a research? And you also need to look at what method are you using? Is it random sampling, or are you just controlling the number of subjects you're going to use in that research, as it were? So the CCMG, which is the church's organization, came up with a research where they had a sample size of approximately 1,500, and yet we had 13,500 polling stations. Now you see, there is a difference when you are doing a static research, where maybe you are doing a cross-section research. You want to see the prevalence rate of a disease. You can calculate by just using the number of people randomly, and then you'll be like, oh, out of 1,000 people, maybe there are 10,000 people. Out of 1,000 people, there are 100 people with a certain disease. It will be accurate, and you can actually extrapolate that. Now, when it comes to elections, what is accurate is what is known as election audit. With election audit, you are looking at specific polling stations, because each polling station in an election is different from the other. Let's take, for instance, out of these 1,500, we are remaining with 12,000 polling stations, which these CCMG never even sampled. And now they are trying to extrapolate from the 1,500 and say the general picture is that Hakainde won. What if all those 1,500, half of them were from northern Muchinga, Luapula? Because when you look at the numbers of polling stations and the way they are spread across the country, we've got three main provinces where Hakainde did much of the rigging, which was southern, western, northwestern, actually five: southern, northwestern, western Lusaka, and Copper Belt. So if you look at these and then plus the northern Muchinga Luapula, including the other areas where they did the rigging to reduce the numbers of Munduvire, and you just go and sample 1,500, it is very inaccurate. Secondly, they never told us, did they sample Chawama? Did they sample Chingola? Did they sample Mandevu? Did they sample Matero? So when you look at those, if you come and sample, let's say, Mandevu and Matero, then you extrapolate, you may get a different picture. But if you sample Muchinga and other places, that's why they're even saying, oh, it was peaceful. So these organizations, again, in a dictatorship, ambassador, we need to be very careful. Like I was saying yesterday, in a dictatorship, there is what is known as discrediting of independent institutions. So the dictators always discredit independent institutions. As a result, the same independent institutions become mouthpiece. They start justifying. Because this CCMG, they also understand that they have got 5 years ahead of them with Hakainde. So should they give a report that is going to be contradictory, this is a government of dictators, which is going to make sure that they suffer. So we can't trust these institutions at the moment because they are becoming just rubber stamps. So I wanted to comment on that, and I want our viewers to know that all of you know the reality that Hakainde lost the election, and this report is merely another report which you get in every dictatorship. Because remember, in a dictatorship, dictators even manipulate statistics. They will be telling you how good their economy is doing, but in reality, people are suffering. They will tell you how maternal death rates have lowered when in fact they are higher, because the aim is just to control everything that will make them look better. Now, aside from that, I want to mention one thing about Zumani Zimba. Ambassador, yesterday during the meeting, I was privileged that I got the first-hand information. You see, Zumani Zimba was championing the narrative in the meeting with the Council of Leaders that we are going to anger Hakainde Hichilema if we do a petition. What kind of a leader speaks like that? It is clear that Zumani Zimba is working with the UPND. That is why even the meeting he called yesterday was about trying to galvanize, and he thought he was going to convince everyone by using fear, because dictators work by spread of fear. Unfortunately, the most cowards we have in Zambia are those who've been to school. So Zumani is one of the cowards, and he has already bought into the idea of working with a dictator. So from now onwards, Zumani should never be trusted, should never even be allowed to speak on behalf of Mundubile because he's compromised. He was trying to pressure the leaders in the meeting that let's not anger Ichirema, let's just ignore the petition. Remember, Mundubile owes it to the Zambians. He owes it to the Zambians to make sure that he petitions. Those elections were not about Mundubile. They were about the Zambians. And Mundubile should go ahead and petition. Zumanzimba is a sellout, and people should always regard him as such. Now, coming to the congratulations that came from, particularly, I want to mention the congratulations that came from the USA about, Hakainde Hichilema. Now, I want our viewers and our followers to understand one important thing. The way politics play at an international level is that these countries like the United States of America, they look for their personal interest. Now, when you're looking for your personal interest, that means that you look away from whatever is the interest of the other country. And they don't pretend about this. So what happens is this. They congratulated Hakainde Hichilema. That doesn't mean that they don't know that he's doing a lot of wrong things.
National interest, not personal interest.
Oh, national interest. Sorry. National interest. I'm sorry. I don't even know that it came out that way. So they comes out, they do it in national interest. So now, this national interest, for them, it supersedes anything else. Anything that is in national interest, it supersedes anything else. So Zambia has got its own national interest. The USA and other countries have got their own national interest. So now Hakainde is at the weakest point because the international community and most of these countries, including the US, they know that the man is really not handling things well. Now, when they know that he's not handling things well, it puts them at an advantage now to get whatever they want from him. Because as long as they recognize him, he owes them. Because if they don't recognize him, then automatically he won't survive. Why do you think up to now we still have people like Museveni who are not democratic? We have people like the other guy from Rwanda. Rwanda and Uganda, these are dictatorship. But we still have these presidents and they are recognized. So the international community, what they do, these countries, is that as long as they are getting what they want from those dictators, they will tell them we're going to look away. But that puts the country in a precarious situation because now Hakainde can't even talk. Because Hakainde can't talk back. If he tries to talk back, they'll tell him, look, tomorrow we are just going to tell the people the truth. Tomorrow we are just going to side with the people and you are gone. So Hakainde now will be a real puppet. Now they can get anything that they want. So people should not feel discouraged that no, now he is legitimate. No, he is not legitimate. They are looking out for their own national interest, and it's important to do that. Now, looking at the request by the police of Mundubile and Makebi to go and appear before them. Ambassador, I want to just take people back just for a few years. In 2021, after the UPND won government, what we saw was that there were arbitrary arrests. But the funny thing about these arrests with the UPND is that the narrative was that they were trying to arrest people who had stolen. But to date, they haven't even explained anywhere where somebody stole the money. Now, in these arrests, the UPND introduced what they were calling that, they would arrest someone and grab the property before somebody is even proven guilty. They went ahead and arrested Bowman Lusambo without even proving him guilty. They even got all the properties. By the time they were done with their case, they were merely now doing formalities and they grabbed everything. As if it was not enough. One case that really makes me remember that this government had started already the dictatorial tendencies was when they met Bowman Lusambo in Kabwe with a Range Rover. Hakainde, through the police, had to get the Range Rover from him and said, you don't qualify to own a Range Rover. Now that is dictatorship. So the police at one time even entered an office where ECAO was in Kawe to try and harass them in front of the priest. What does that tell you? The police are not there to protect you because in every dictatorship, the dictators know that they are not genuinely loved. And because they know they are not genuinely loved, they don't rule by love. They rule by oppression and fear because they got power by force. And when you get power by force, the only way you're going to maintain that power is through fear, by intimidation. If you just relent even once, the people can rise against you. So whatever you see the police doing, it's not there to help. Mundubile is more in danger with the police than where he is now. So Mundubile should not even bother to go and appear because the moment Mundubile is out of that protection, the police won't even be the one to apprehend him. It will be the military. And once the military take him, this government, through their propaganda as a dictatorship, they have already flooded the media with the story of treason. So it will be very difficult now to get Mundubile out. It is easier now not to go there than for him to go, be arrested, and then you start involving other people to get him out. And even if he was to be gotten out, there's no telling whether he will come out healthy because it is very possible that he can go there and then they do something to him that may even take his life afterwards. So Mundubile and Makebi should not even dare go and attend those interviews. The other thing is, if they don't go, it also gives them an opportunity to make sure they oversee the petitioning. This petitioning, ambassador, I just saw a statement by Zumanzimba that I'm not going to be part of this petitioning. Now, that is what I was talking about being bought, because now Zumanzimba can't hide it anymore. He can't hide it anymore now. The goal is for these guys not to petition. Because Hakainde knows, even if you took this case to a mad person, they will know that the one who won is Mundubile. Because there is too much evidence. So they know that just petitioning alone is going to embarrass the judiciary should they not be fair in their judgment. And now people like Zuman Zimba, who've been bought, are trying by all means to prevent this, but they can't prevent it. So my word of caution is that Mundubile and Makebi should make sure they don't attend these interviews. And lastly, Ambassador, there was a caller who was asking that can a candidate be cleared if at all they were under investigation for 3 years for treason and other things? The answer is no. We do know, all of us, that Mundubile was a parliamentarian and he served diligently until Parliament was dissolved. If Mundubile was under investigation, it would have been known a long time ago. All these are fabrications, but it is expected under a dictatorship because they can't say we started this now. For some reason, they think people don't think, and they can tell you that this is not because of elections. They want to detach elections from what's happening. They want you to believe that whatever they are doing is something that started a long time ago, and it is just a coincidence that after elections, that's when they are doing it. Unfortunately, those desensitized supporters are even justifying that the reason why Hakainde did not arrest Mundubile during elections or when they got him with the others is that he didn't want it to look bad because we were in the middle of an election. So these desensitized supporters who are not even capable of showing empathy should not even be given an ear. Don't listen to them. Don't pay attention to them. They need help. Because when somebody is desensitized, you need to resensitize them. Because if you don't do that, they'll continue living without empathy like that. So we shouldn't pay attention to those justifications. We should instead pay attention to what is on the ground. I think I end here, Ambassador, for now.
Thank you, family. Let's go back to the phone calls. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. This is LB from
LB, make your contribution.
Thank you. Looking at the situation on the ground, Ambassador, how are they going to file in their challenge, these our presidents? And the next, secondly, I want to find out, I want the panelists to answer, why do we allowing these Nigerians to be in our politics, whereby they've destroyed our country at our watch? I want the panelists to answer. I thank you.
Thank you. Let me answer another call. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Okay. From Gateway. Yes. For the Poland, the property, once arrangement, not to Imona for it, and not to issue. So, contribution, therefore, per Quevati. If in top of the end.
Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Okay, let's get to another caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Okay. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Just a minute. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Good morning, Ramon.
Good morning.
First, want to start by reading a scripture here so that we understand the times we are in right now. Okay, I'm reading from 1 Corinthians 11, verse 19. But of course,
Hello. Uh-oh, we've lost that caller. At load shedding now, but in the phone are off. I saw his ESCO schedule suggesting that load shedding has started. Are you load shedded? Tell us if it's possible, if it's true that you're load shedded wherever you are. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
I'm calling from Lusaka. Nachilafu afina inenjike ku contribution and njipushe. If so chambo kuba ili ashirama petition and the time ile. Chala basha now there's a toa for muri chino charo cha Zambia.
Thank you.
Lusaka.
Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello.
Yes, caller.
Okay. I'm anonymous. I just want to contribute that, like the other caller said, Mundubile and Makebi have been in the parliament for some time. Makebi wali fuminemo. I think pako ati inch time sita tuwa wumfilepo if ya nani kane if ya mfuti if ya anything. And before these guys go through if you but I'm sure Parapita Kuola fingerprints and Shine to know that they've no criminal case whatsoever. Number for them to come up with something like that around this time because Mundubile nabe mininairo nabamono kwebati my results are in his favor. They had whatever they are saying they had. That is a lie. They're just trying to run away from whatever it is. Bamwamba, I think yesterday nali mitumina polo imbona ile urolera ndati kwati atatuleponya flag. You know, there's a message, and that song is giving us vibes.
Oh, okay. I played it first here. I played it as soon as Blaze produced it. And the other day, I was the first one to play it. Maybe I should play it again.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I was the first one to play.
That song is giving us vibes. Yeah, but you know, you still hold on to what you believe. You still hold on to believing in these two people, in the leadership and everything. And if you feel such a they're just trying to cover up. It's a cover up. Otherwise, there's nothing like that. I don't believe it. Thank you.
Thank you.
They're just trying.
Okay, callers, I need to release my team. We've been at it for the last 3 hours. I need to release my team. Make your contribution quickly so that we can I can get their last words of encouragement. I'll read what someone has sent to me on Zuman Zimba. They said they're failing to go through and they've written what they think we should. He wants the message read, his view on Zuman Zimba. Paula, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you very much, Mama. I'm calling from Dollars. My name is Daniel.
Make your contribution.
Yes, Baba Mwamba. I'm just being confused and frustrated with what's happening in our country. They need children to shaman. The exit where of it. If I had even where to go somewhere else, I can go. Not as much as you pay because no. This is not Zambia we had. See, this is not Zambia we had. How I don't know how we have reached Opotwatika. Kodi fiance. Issue of Opotwatika kodi fiance ba mwamba. Tika is very, very. I'm sorry to use this word of sarcastic.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah. So
I think we just need prayers. You to pray for us and just to pray very hard, because this is what's happening. Anything can happen in this nation. So, to aromba sio ruserwa balesa. Tatuishi wafo turukia ni mshawisha Zambia mwamba. I thank very much.
Thank you. Okay, let me pledge to take the last caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Thank you, Ambassador. Mwashukeni. Concern young, first and foremost, Ambassador Mwamba, it still comes back to the petition, yes. Which make sure what the petition to the file. Panto abantu pa Tuesday. Bara chita inaugurate. But as much as possible, we are not losing hope, and we are thinking, please, but wafuilisheko sana ile petition ipite. If you have shinguluka United Nations valechita fe violative into abantu wataweshi fe valechita. Icha tukalipa sana ndi ashindi wena tumfuilio kwa tumupongo ishwe sunafwa. Wena omulopa wako na wena chaimo omulopa wako katotwe unedidi ya kushikolo. Lakini twala pepera kwe chalo chesu kwatilesa tuchingilile atubakilile tutangilile. Thank you so much, Tesapale Bani.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Hello, Amwamba. Anonymous calling from Zambia.
Anonymous, make your contribution.
Osaka. Amwamba. Abantu aba batambire panono. Yes, batambire with some abductions. Asha attracted couple ever since Zambia. So you can relate on how they started to advocate to cover Pelesh. We're being so proud when we're watching our rallies for Shiriko to the Tamba. But I'm going to say, oh, to catch the soul. Hey, I'm audience here. I'm not pangiling. I'm like, hey, you can't do this thing. Which the soul. So, how can a whole entire leader, like president, so called president, I think this is so bad. In fact, we're just counting on you, Ramwamba. International courts of law, we're just counting on you people there. They want to make sure once everybody wants to the English, everybody wants to the English. We're putting I would say we're putting a demon. This man, sure. He's very stone-hearted, he's a very bad man. So, that's why once may that blood speak against their deeds. But I'm one by one.
Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. Endita.
Just the few to contribute. You, our brothers, P.S. Kazia, Dr. Sampa, na Augustine, na Mweba Diuko. What is critical here is to, I don't know if Wale Tinyama lawyers and everybody else in Zambia, but what is important is to bring these things to the world to know if you had to take a Kumai election. Launching the election petition, Yala is to console Zambian and to let the world to know if you had to take a Kumai election. So it is very important, Ambassador and our brothers who are there, to see how that petition, it can be filing and let the world know. If you actually take it, it's very important. Yala bakwati muti kwena Zambia kushwe. Yes, we know ama court yesu yava nama judges, but just to borrow like Wasampa Bachilanda, just the way election was conducted, the announcing of results, if you elect Kafyon chemists, even if you take umuntu fewa penafi monafiefi, kuchalandi fintafiri no mwefi, it is very important. I'm appealing to you to help to see how that thing can be done. Second one, Bamwamba, you are a diplomat, you understand the protocol, international law. Makebi na Brian Mundubile, they should not even dare to make a mistake. No matter whatever guarantee is going to be given by the Zambian police, whatever it is, these people are not human. Tabakweta katina, tabakweta human feeling. Just see what it has done. If I staff Kuri brother Wesum Topeka Fire and others. So please, your advice, they should not even dare to come out from where they are. I thank you.
Thank you. I always pledge that that's the last caller. Then the phones flare up. And now the last caller can't be the last caller. Yeah. And my guess, by now you know that the last caller is never the last caller. Every time I make the announcement that there's last, they know my phones flare up and, you know, I feel guilty. I begin to take more calls. But let's start with Chanda Kazia. First, the lady here is calling. I think that's the one. She's quite a regular caller. Okay, I'll interrupt you when she calls, but let's start with our PS Chanda Kazia to begin closing. Okay, before you do that, Chanda, hello caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution. I'm quiet.
Well, Bamwamba, it's the same story every day. I think it fuire to ateke mitimapa no kwamba nombukulala ndetuntulu tuila karipa no karipa. Bamwamba, we are at war. Katushinga bari ngumfa?
Quiet.
We are at war. This is the beginning of civil war. And it's clear, Bamwamba. Why am I saying so? You know, you can see from how the government is fighting its own citizens, opposing to everything. Mr. Ambassador, we must be alert. You know, there is something deeper happening in Zambia, and it's about losing its reputation. It is actually losing its reputation, very good reputation. Yeah. So, Mr. Ambassador, as it is now, Bakateka's reaction to whatever is happening is quite clear, because he knew very much, or maybe he knows very much deep down in his heart, that the people of Zambia have rejected him badly. Because according to him, he had this, conviction that Zambians had faith in him. Zambians are speaking out through their messages, in songs, and also in everything, reacting without showing anything. You know, surely, Bamwamba, the flag must stand high. It's Makebi na Mundubile, they should go ahead for this petition. We have to show things are not good in Zambia. Things are not good in our country. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. Let's bring in PS Kazia. PS Kazia, make your response and your closing remarks.
Thank you. It is well now known. Every caller that is on this platform, they are saying one thing. The petition must continue. President Mundubile and Vice President Makebi, they must continue. But also, the fear of that we know the kind of the person we're dealing with. If they, for whatever reason, they want to come out, we don't know what can come out of that. And I think the issue of saying they've surrounded, but we know that even when people think that he can do he can't do anything. Well, even if he's around the UN building, they can stay there for years. They can't do anything. If they did that, oh my goodness, I don't know what would happen. I do not. I'm not even thinking about it. I know he wouldn't do it. He knows it. The consequences would be grave. So that is known. Thirdly, Vamwamba, it is the issue of treason vis-a-vis. This is the issue of militia. The militia thing is a hoax. It doesn't exist. There's no one who's planning to do what they're saying. No. The only thing the Zambians are planning is to talk and say, we cannot have an election stolen. And the courts must look at those facts and figures and everything. So the issue of militia, please, Zambians, you must understand that it's a distraction. And number two, it is meant to actually criminalize, arrest people, beat people up, injure, put people in jail, like they're in concentration camp. That is what it is. It's not anything that is there. The militias, the definition of militias and whatever the militias do cannot fit that narrative. We have not seen enough evidence to show that there's a militia that is actually being done by the opposition. I don't see that. Then the issue of treason. The treason, it is meant that if once they land on the Honorable Brian Mundubile and Honorable Makebi Zulu, it is meant that they should go and rot in jail. Like yesterday, Ambassador Mamba, you said something that is very profound. You said that, once the cause list is too long for people to even be having to see them. So it is just to, like really punish them for nothing. And also to stop the petition from going through. That is why everybody is just checking their back. Who is next? They pick the lawyers, they pick that one, and they come with these huge statements of militias. There's nothing like that. So the petition must go on. The issue of treason is meant to scare people. Yes, there will be people that they are going to claim that they have committed those crimes, but I don't think when we look at what has happened, if those cases can even see the light of day in court, they might just drop them. And that's why if you listen very carefully, there was issues to do with in their statement. We are doing forensics, those that are not tied to this, they will be released and things like that. But meanwhile, they're keeping people in prison. The stories that are alleging that if Patrick Mansa is dead, it's going to be really bad. But we hope not. Personally, I hope not, because we can't have him to take a fire dead, then another person dead, another person dead. It will be a signal that we must be able to even raise serious red flags across the world. Serious red flags. If Patrick is dead, those are serious red flags, because we don't want people to come and start saying, oh, wait a minute, what happened? Where did we go wrong? What did we miss? The plan to actually brutalize people is right there before the faces of everybody, and we can see it. But what is important is to keep talking the way we are doing it here, to debunk the issues to do with the militia. If there's a militia, please provide credible evidence. Just telling us that the militias that are ready to disrupt the peace in Zambia is not sufficient. We need transparent, independent, and credible investigation. If the government has evidence, please produce it. It does not. It should stop asking the country to substitute political authority, for proof. Please, let's drop that, and please, the petition must go. That one, I'm with you.
Thank
For
you.
the purposes that
Augustine, please close in your remarks. You are muted, Augustine.
My apologies, Ambassador. I didn't want my mic to be interfering with the rest of the team. So the general feeling in the country is that of despair. I think there are many people that are not happy with the outcome of the election. There are people who are scared for their lives. There are people who don't feel like living in Zambia right now. We did hear those callers. I was talking to somebody who told me today, is it yesterday, that there's a list of over 300 people at the airport that should not leave the country. Why, we do not know. The fear for a witch hunt is very much alive. The fear for a serious crackdown on the opposition is very much alive. You therefore cannot in one breath preach unity and peace when in the other breath you are persecuting your political opponents. When you persecute your political opponents, you elicit anger in their supporters, in their families, and your call for peace and unity will fall on deaf ears. This is why, for me, those that are calling for peace, those that are calling for unity, those that are asking others to come on board as they offer their olive branch, must be the first ones to demonstrate magnanimity in the management of national affairs. It is also clear, Ambassador, that while people may be skeptical with the Constitutional Court, they still believe a petition will be a good idea to proceed. Majority of the people are calling on that petition. And if they're calling on that petition, why not give it to them? There was another caller. I thought, I'm not an authority on that one. Personality disorders, I'll leave it for Dr. Sampa to again give us a recap. The caller, I think, has religiously listened to this program. There was another one who talked about the military raid and that there was no need to release on that day Honorable Brian Mundubile. But it has happened. It happened. And indeed, if Honorable Brian Mundubile was a leader of that militia, he should, from that day, have been in police cells, charged in the same way with the rest of the team. But they knew that they didn't have any substance in those allegations. And that's why they were, forced or compelled to dump him wherever they did. So there's no point for them to continuously keep or hold the people they are holding. If anything, having tortured them in the manner that they tortured them, they are supposed to avail them before medical personnel so that they can be treated for those injuries. Now, there are fears that somebody could have lost his life as a result of those injuries. Now, if you tortured so many people and they have maybe internal bleeding, how many people are you going to hurt in this process? So avail those people you have tortured, for medical attention. Give them an opportunity to see their lawyers. Uh, if you have any charge, charge them. But we know that there's nothing to charge them for. Release them unconditionally. Let them move on with their lives. There is no militia in Zambia. Let's not create unnecessary fear that is not there. You focus on what you're supposed to do instead of, hot air allegations that do not even exist. I think that is very key for me. At this point, we pretty much have exhausted what the callers' views have been. Again,
Thank you,
Ambassador,
Augustine. Let me bring in Dr. Sampa.
Ambassador, my last remarks are just concerning the petition. Like my colleagues have said, Mundubile and Makebi should go ahead with the petition because they owe it to the Zambians. This petition must go ahead. They shouldn't relent. And talking of people like Zumanzimba, I just want to also reiterate that people should start ignoring whatever he says from now onwards. If you haven't seen it on Ambassador Mamba's page, then you should know because he is the spokesperson. So if that man posts anything, it's coming from UPND. For starters, Zumanzimba has already fallen short of his position and is not in support. He's not working with the team of the Council of Leaders. That's why he went outside and said, hey, I'm not going to support this. What kind of a leader does that? He's not a leader. And if these are the kind of people who were there during the time when we were getting independence, I can assure the Zambians that up to now, Zambia would still be colonized because we've got people who care more about their stomachs than anything else. So that petition must go on. And then I want to urge our supporters and everyone who supports BM8 and all those followers that, you see, they shouldn't worry because if this petition goes, whether they sit on it or they don't do the right thing, there will be a record. And when time comes, it will be very easy to work on it. That's why UPND is trying by all means to prevent it from happening. However, if we don't do anything right now, if Mundubile and Makebi don't do anything right now, there will be no official record. It will remain a mere rumor. So we can't allow it to die just like that because everyone has witnessed that this election was a sham and the UPND merely appointed people and they appointed themselves to govern as it were. And this kind of governance, of course, Zambians need to bless themselves. The coming 5 years will be very difficult. Just yesterday, I already heard that some people are complaining that there was no electricity where they were. And whatever we saw in the past 5 years, things will get worse. But I just want to assure you that as long as we stand together and stick together, everything will one day work out. We just don't need to give up because if our forefathers gave up, today we wouldn't be enjoying this independence we are enjoying. Thank you, Ambassador.
Doc, let me use this opportunity to thank you. The phone is buzzing, so let the people. I will take 5-6 calls for you, gentlemen. You are relieved. You may take a break. I'll let you go, but let me hear from my callers. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from, and make your contribution.
Yes, I'm Banda Steven, Eastern Province, Chipangali, Constituency.
Kambaponi.
Msogoleri chomaine funo kambako ine kwa wachikulire ba UPND bango kamboti tivesese UPND problem ya UPND chamena kango understand chakuti sama ziva kuti kuli opposition ndio pressure amene wali nayo komanso cha number 2 kulibe ziko yamene ilibe opposition kulibe oloweka chikulire yao sembe waganiza bwino because mali zao tsamene amatenga HH upeza kuti registered voters registered ili pasi ovota mapaka kuti vanthu amatenga kuti because munthu sangatenga 54,000 numpezeka kuti MP akatenga 16 pin tavantu popitoka vota mabox vajali 4 chamene voters vachikulire yao mabox ali 4 ine ngati ni vota nipitamo na voti imozi ine so sizingateke president ukatenga 50 chakuti vote 50 chakuti 1000 vote uja MP ukatenga tu kan 20,000 votes nzosateka hizo achitenga ati kuskuru anapitako cha number 1 cha number 2 chamenafunika oziva awasogoleri nchakuti iyo mbeu yamenabyala ni mbeu litia bwino anava azavutisa vana kusogolo kolo ya bwino ifuko kala na upungu wa bwino usogolera kwamene asogolera sasogolera pa nyumba chabe ni country wide so tenti chite vinthu mziko vokuti country tangizike asati kumbalia ho chabe yayi andi iwu mlandu amene afuna upasa opposition ukamba kuti treason iyo ni skagoliti ya bwino tentuone chilungamo chene instead tizigandaula za vanthu amene vaphedwa na UPND batakalibizo kugwira vanthu si chilungamo yayi akhale na mtima wa chifundo azichitire chifundo nanga chidakakhala mbali yawo okay mapresident amene vanaliko kunala akaunda kutana na mtima uyu wamene tiona mu UPND sembe chiluwa sana imirire sembe chiluwa sana rulinge ziko oro MMT kutana ali na mtima wamene ali nawo aba UPND oro sata sembe sana kale po president upresident tisankhandise sasankhandiwo tisankhandise tavantu mwanona kuno ntumira nenkuchipangali kuno kwamenene nakwanisa vota tilondola zose zamazichitika tilondola but zamene maruchita si za bwino yayi tipempha achitire chifundo vanthu asazichitire pa iwo vekha koma achitire chifundo vanthu chamene tidandaula ni uchitira chifundo moyo wa vanthu ni mangati vanthu amene vafa tipenya pa social media ayiona msogolere so please tapapata asangozipangira za mumtima mwawo apange chinthu chikomere mazambiyani tose kuno asati zingokomera iwo chabe yayi afune asafune chazona nchakuti petition ifuni kochitika oro kutafuna tabagwira abamange petition ifuni kochitika abazathu apichoko mauti country pemphonia kuti bagwire ntchito yawo mwachilungamo kuti tabantu tithandizike bagwire ntchito ya chilungamo ba European Union ba UN bagwire ntchito yawo kunali ma organization ba FODEP wanakaendera wanaita observe masango basakodi wanaita observe masango ba Caritas wanaita observe masango aba bantu wose sanga kana umboni wonama kuti ba UPND beka ndaka kana umboni wazoona voti msogoreri ili pa polling station not pa totaling center mwamene mtoka ma G20 au ni ma polling station please tapapata ma polling station ndiye mwamene mulumbo ni wene asati umboni wa pa totaling center yayi abwerere baki pa drawing board pa polling center ndiye pamene pali mavoti ndiye pamene tidandaula pa polling station not ku totaling center ziko mkwambiri msogoreri.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from and make your contribution.
Mamamba Panonofe. I want to draw you and the panelists to this issue. Mulole keshe sana pa melisha ibalela ndapo. Bamwamba, I heard somewhere where they were saying that they started investigating this from long time ago. Number one, the question is, if they started investigating this thing long time ago, are you telling me that when they ambushed Mundubile could have been released? Please look at that point. He wasn't going to be released if he was engaged in that operation. He could have already been in jail. Why did they release him? Put that in a record. If we're not for thank you.
Thank you very much. Family, that comes to an end of our program. We'll see you later in the day. God bless you and God bless our country.